but not because there's no object. I mean, it's on one direction. The object is the chip, the trading piece for the art world, and everything is based on that, and particularly in America, but in the international world. The photograph has basically replaced painting. Installation is a kind of a thing where you can do that for museums, special projects, so it has to do with ticket sales or marketing. So there's really kind of like not the same, I don't know how to describe it, but essentially that's where it exists now, at some point, not totally. And this is the effect of globalism, global marketing, global whatever you want to call it. The opposite is true, or let me just trace this back a little bit because it's kind of interesting. When you come out of the 1970s art scene, which is essentially Soho and kind of this kind of no money, everybody's working with each other because there's nobody going to get the galleries. A lot of people my age and that sort of thing, we all went to the East Village at the same time, and we all joined punk bands and this and that, because there was really literally no place to do performance art. There were two places. There was the kitchen, and I think Paula Cooper would let you do performances in her art gallery, but that was it. Otherwise you were performing in your loft or someone else's loft. There's no place to do performance art. So a lot of times what people do is they would go to the rock clubs and either do performance art in between, or they'd make rock bands, and the rock bands would be the performance art. That's what we were doing. It was also kind of like a punk thing, it was kind of, assuming that all the rich hippies from like the late 60s and 70s got all the cookies and there was nothing left anyway, so it didn't make any difference. There was essentially a collapse of the whole kind of society. Then, the other thing that happened in East Village, which I was one of the people who did this as well as many, many others, we got really cheap rents in East Village. So I moved to East Village in 1980 or something like that. There was a whole bunch of other artists that did that. I opened up an art gallery in 80-something, 83 I think it was, something like that. It was called Virtual Garrison. It was on 2nd Avenue and 2nd Street. And essentially I did what everybody else did. I was paying $75 a month for rent for a storefront, which is nothing. I was doing construction work to earn a living, and I basically showed my friends. Right? And that's what everybody was doing, and it was a joke, essentially, because what we were doing was, I would say we were simulating the art world. Because essentially we were like, it didn't matter stylistically. I mean, it didn't matter what you were making. It was like you throw the stuff up on the wall, and you put the prices really cheap, like $500. And there was a lot of money at that point because there was some sort of like stock market surge. So there's all these young people in their 20s and 30s who were like just going in and buying art, just didn't know anything about it. It kind of looked like art. So essentially what happened was that you had styles which were any style. You surrealism mixed with expressionism, mixed with minimalism. You had people doing realistic painting. I mean, it had absolutely no discourse whatsoever. As a matter of fact, like, it was kind of like you didn't want to do anything original because it didn't make any difference. It was kind of like, who cares? I mean, the market, as long as you made something which was a trading chip. And so people would come into the East Village and they would just basically, like, Sylvester Stallone would walk in, or we'd have an art buyer walk in, look at the show, and buy the whole show. And just drive around with a limousine, step over the bums and the winos, used to camp out in front of my place, and buy the whole show. Because it didn't make any difference. They'd buy it, stick it in the warehouse. If it appreciated in value, fine. If it didn't, so what? It was like, you can write it off as tax. That's really what that's about. And what's interesting is that style, two things occurred. The first thing is that most of the people who opened the art galleries in East Village, and there were over 100, were essentially artists. And so their galleries they were doing kind of like performance art in a way, and that's what I was doing essentially. I said, okay, fine, why don't I just try being an art dealer? What the hell? I mean, Meyer Vassman showed Jeff Koons in a gallery called International with Monument. But essentially it was Meyer, him, and what's his name? Ashley Bickerton and a few, whoever the core Neo Geo people were doing. But essentially they were just play acting at art dealership. It didn't, you know, it's kind of now in the 21st century in Chelsea, in West Chelsea, what you see is what I call the triumph of the East Village, and by extension the rest of the world, which is that all of these kind of styles are all being mixed together stylistically, and it doesn't make any difference. I mean, there's absolutely no intellectual basis for anything. It's all about the market, which is kind of okay, because when you go to something like I've been in a couple of art fairs, I mean, my video pieces or whatever, but like I went to Scope Art Fair, and then I realized what was going on. And Scope is kind of like a younger art fair, and I like the people there, and I know Lee Wells, and he's doing curating for the video and this and that. And he asked me to go over there, and a few other artists from PAM, which is Perpetual Art Machine. It's kind of a really interesting kind of a video database and physical interface. It's online. It's www.perpetualartmachine.com. Perpetualartmachine.com. Good guys. But anyway, which I would say is actually the next wave of community for digital art and new media, which is a really kind of an interesting thing. But within this, I went to the kind of like what you call VIP opening, and then I realized, you know, all the artists were going around like drinking cocktails, and they were exchanging business cards, and you know. Then I realized it was essentially it was like being at a shopping mall. It's a shopping mall experience. It was the mall experience, which is kind of like hyper-capitalism, hyper-market, but it was okay. It wasn't that big a deal. It was fun. It was fun to be there. It was fun to be in it. I mean, you know, people were making really good pieces in one way or another. There were a lot of energy and excitement. And so it's not all negative. It's fun. It's okay. It's fine. With Pam in particular, we'll go back, trace back a little bit, that what happened after the first initial kind of internet blush or excitement or enthusiasm was everybody was kind of like building these communities, and they didn't quite know what was going on, and there was very few people on the internet. Then the commercial people all jumped in, and everybody's getting millions of dollars for websites and this and that and the other thing, and then all of a sudden there was a crash. There was an internet crash. I can't remember when that was. It was like I don't know, 2000, 99, 2000, someplace in there. And so all of a sudden there was not any interest in the internet. And then someplace in there was a bunch of people who had started to do like these kind of like, which is fine. They were doing kind of Java applets and JavaScript. They were kind of like the second wave, and they kind of were, they got into this kind of like hardcore insistence that, which I think is very funny, where they said you can't be a digital artist unless you write code, which is kind of, you know, oh, I see. So, you know, they had this whole kind of like hardcore thing, which it's okay, but it's not okay ultimately. But in terms of community, let's get back to the notion. See, there's this kind of dynamic between some sort of like techno, like there's a dynamic in the digital art world which is really kind of a problem, where the programming and the technology become the content in some way. And what that does is it cheapens the kind of spirit of what being an artist is about. Because what it does is it says that engineers can design artists, so engineer can figure out a program that makes art. So then you don't need artists, because essentially you can have a machine do it, which is absurd. And the problem is that the engineers take that seriously. The artists don't. I mean, artists always like have fun saying, oh yeah, we're going to make machines to make art, which is, they know is absurd and impossible. But the engineers take that seriously. The next level beyond that kind of like, you know, it's like this kind of notions of interactive art, I mean, interactivity is an absurdity as well. Because essentially a programmer writes a series of logical moves within a program. So if you do this, the program will do that. If you do this, so you're not interacting to anything. Well, essentially what you're doing is you're a rat in a maze. You go one way or the other. I mean, you go through the maze, that's it. I mean, it's totally control environment. It's nothing to do with interactivity. You don't change anything. So that's like a misnomer.
Just 5 minutes. 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, this tape.
So we have to. Actually, we have to wrap this up. Heinrich is saying there's 3 minutes left. Okay. Think I can make this fast? We'll see. I don't know. I forgot my. Oh yeah, perpetual art machine. So there's like a new kind of like, which I really like, is that there's within this MSP community, there's a whole nother kind of like series of pure data and video artists and people working who share the kind of programming tasks and the community tasks. You know, so you can be both. You can actually write programs if you want to, or work with someone who writes a program, and you don't have to actually be this kind of like artist engineer thing. So that's kind of okay. So anyway, that's kind of like something that I'm doing.
Look at the wind. I've never seen clouds like that.
Shh. Do you hear that? What was that sound?
My God, we're trapped!
This is the end of me. This is the end of me. This is the end of me.
Look at the wind. I've never seen clouds like that.
There's someone outside. Should I let them in?
There's nothing left. There's nothing left. It's all gone. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. It's all gone. There's nothing left. It's all gone. It's all gone. There's nothing left. There's nothing left.
The roads are jammed. This is a nightmare.
The police are saying we have to evacuate. Maybe we can hide from the police.
I can't leave. What am I gonna do? My whole life is here.
The roads are jammed. This is a nightmare.
There's someone outside. Should I let them in?
I love you. I love you.
The phone just went dead.
Oh, God. I need to take a look outside.
They've released water from the dams.
It's all gone. There's nothing left.
Let's stay put. The phone just went dead.
The roads are jammed. This is a nightmare.
I need to take a look outside.
Oh shit. They've released water from the dams.
I can't start from scratch. I'm too old. I can't start from scratch. I'm ruined. I'm too old. I can't start from scratch. I can't start from scratch. I'm too old. I'm ruined.
Try calling your mother. Try the emergency number.
Hang on tight!
I love you.
This is the end of me. This is the end of me. This is the end of me.
Hang on tight.
I'm ruined. I'll never be able to rebuild.
The roads are jammed! This is a nightmare!
I love you.
I can't leave. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. My whole life is here. I can't leave.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. My whole life is here. I can't leave. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. My whole life is here.
Take hold of my hand!
Did you hear that? What was that sound?
I'm not ready for this.